Hello and welcome to the live stream of Odds on Serie A Matchday 9. This round of Italian culture will bring us some exciting clashes such as Roma Napoli and Inter Juve. We expect a lot of drama, a lot of goals, and why not a lot of winning bets. My name is Daniele and I'm honored to be the host of Odds on Serie A together with our football and betting expert Daniele Fisichella. Stay tuned to learn what tips and predictions Danny has prepared, and I'm sure you'll be able to find a lot of value in them. As always, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel to help us grow so we can keep delivering great content. Leave your comments in the live chat and we'll try to get back to you as quick as possible. So now, let's get on with the show. Danny, first of all, congratulations on last night ACCA of Champions League. You killed it, absolutely smashed it.
Hi, Daniel. Well, thank you very much. Because I saw Alvaro getting it right the day before on Tuesday, so I said, "Well, I need to do better." And actually, yeah, we got it right. But don't be modest, don't be Mr. Modest, because you got Chelsea 4, Malmo nil. What were the odds? Congratulations
I
to
don't
you
know.
as well.
I wished I bet some money on it. It was just like sixth sense. It was just like coming from the above. I just said 4-0 without thinking about it. I wasn't prepared. So, but yeah, things like this happen. Unfortunately, I never bet on such predictions.
Well, I hope the people who listen to our tips sometimes put some bets, because you can make some money. Obviously, gamble responsibly. That's the
Definitely,
advice.
yes.
But we are here to give you some tips, a little bit of spice in your weekend or midweekend.
Always, always bet responsibly, guys. Don't do anything reckless, and you should be fine. So now let's get on with Serie A on match day 9. On Friday we have Torino and Genoa. I really love saying this in Italian accent. This is an early kickoff game, and the hosts are really struggling this season, having just 8 points to their name and unable to win 4 back-to-back games. Actually, it's true that last 2 games were against some of the best teams in the league, Napoli and Juve, and they lost both narrowly with just 1 goal margin. But I think something has to change for this team compared to what they did last season. Meanwhile, Genoa is in pretty bad shape themselves, sitting in 18th place with just 6 points and winless run extending to 5 in a row. In the previous match day, Genoa drew 2-2 against Sassuolo, and it seems like they're the underdog here according to bookmakers. What do you think?
Well, okay, let's start with Torino. I think they have already slightly improved on last season. I don't think it looks so gloom as it did last season. They got 3 more points on the table than last year. They are playing more in the last, more in the front foot. They are more attacking, a little bit more of courage with Juric. And at this stage last season, they already conceded 20 goals. So
Hmm.
far, they only conceded 8. So I think it's a much tighter ship. What happens is that they don't capitalize a lot on chances. They miss a lot of chances, especially inside the box. Also against Napoli, they had a lot of great counters. They couldn't capitalize them with Brecalo. If you look at the top scorer of Torino, is Piazza, only with 2 goals scored. By the way, he's going to be injured for this one. They desperately
Hmm.
need Belotti to start this game, which he probably will be, and to score some goals. They also got Mandragora out. So they got a few key players missing. However, they play Genoa, who perhaps is doing worse than them because they are the worst defense of the Serie A, already conceded 18 goals. Last year at this stage, they were bad, conceded 16, and in fact, they sacked the manager and they got Ballardini. But this time, Ballardini is not finding the same shape defensively. Often, he changes the tactics. He starts with 5 at the back, then changes to 4 at the back, as he did with Sassuolo, and things work a little bit better for them. It's by the start of the games that often penalize Genoa. However, Genoa is a team that can score. They got goal scorers, and they
Hmm.
got a great goal scorer, which is Destro. Already 5 goals scored this season. Last this season, he was in double figures. So be careful with them. Even if they're not doing great, they can always nick a goal. However, also, this is going to be a story of a few absentees for Genoa as well, for a defense that is so much under pressure, having to play without Maximovic and Van Udsen. it's going to be difficult, I think, to go to Torino, especially if Belotti is playing tomorrow afternoon. They're also going to be without Hernani. Last year, finished 0-0 in Torino. I can't see that happening again because I think Torino are more propositive. Genoa at the moment, they don't look as tight at the back. And, Torino is unbeaten in the last 4 meetings between these two teams in Torino. Torino win, not bad, 182, but I found something slightly better, which is over 2.5 goals, and that doubles your stake. That pays 2.
Very interesting indeed. I think Belotti is the big miss this season for Torino. You can really tell how important this guy is for them. But hopefully he'll be back in shape soon. Next we have Sampdoria Spezia again on Friday night, only 2 hours later at Luigi Ferrari Stadium. I hope you said it correct.
Correct. Ferraris. It's Ferraris.
Ferrari Stadium, yes.
Yes.
They'll be hoping to get actually their first home win of the season. 3 defeats and 1 draw is what they have so far in the last 4 Serie A games. And the team really desires a win, I think. So far, they're the worst home team as well. However, the bookies clearly favorite them here as a to get the home win, and the odds are well below 175.
Well,
Yes.
I think Sampdoria, perhaps they were a little bit unlucky at the beginning of the season because they had they had a very difficult calendar at the beginning, so it's not easy to for them to come out of the block very strongly because they played a lot of top teams. They do have defensive issues. That's true. They've already conceded 16 goals, only won 1 game so far. So the change between Ranieri and Aversa so far is costing them a little bit of defensive frailty. They've conceded 3 goals in each of the last 4 games. So I think it's a team that still doesn't got an identity. Whereas with Ranieri, they had an identity. They were the mindset was mostly defensive. They were spending a lot of time in their defensive half of the pitch, and then they were good at the counter. They are, as you said, bottom of the table at home, just 2 points, and they're gonna miss a few key players for this one. It's gonna be Thorsby, is gonna be suspended. Damsgaard, who plays so well for Denmark at the Euro, is injured, and Quagliarella is playing, 38 years old, only scoring 1 goal so far this season. I think that's what he needs, the help of Caputo up front to create more chances. Sampdoria doesn't create enough quality chances of so far. And now there is the derby because Spezia is in Liguria, so it's a Liguria derby for them. And I can understand why Spezia's odds were so high because obviously they were nearly promoted last year. They achieved salvation. They changed the manager. But it is a team that is picking up good wins so far. So far, 2 wins in the season, 1 against Salernitana, massive win. And, the way Thiago Motta has reshaped the team, especially with Ghiasi, used to play up front, now he plays as a wing back, that offer more threat, offer more pace on the wing. And, again, we saw Zola up front. At the beginning, he didn't trust him a lot, but now he's back up front. You can feel he hasn't scored yet, but he's present. You can feel his presence. Of course, he's a young team, so he was going to make mistakes. Spezia starting 11 against Salernitana was the youngest team in Serie A so far, 23 years and 200 days, the average. So they're going to make mistakes. Sometimes they're a little bit naive. They don't know how to sit deep and defend. They always try to go forward. But in fact, they cause trouble to Juventus. They cause trouble to Milan. They often conceded late. They are the worst defense of Serie A. 20 goals conceded, and they're going to play against Sampdoria that again is conceded quite a lot. An important game for this one for Spezia, who actually, by the way, on Tuesday faces the other team of Genoa, so double derby, Sampdoria, Spezia, Genoa. Look, I fancy Spezia for this one, not maybe as much as to win, but why not going for a double chance? X2, double chance X2, either draw or a win for Spezia. That would be that would be historical for them, a win there, 225.
That's a really good Good prediction. Also, Spezia, you predicted correctly last match day when you saw over 2.5 goals. So I guess this team is just good for you to analyze.
Yeah, I mean, in
Here
a way, yes.
in the comment section, Ashley says both teams to score and over 2.5, which could also.
Possible, but I think both team to score doesn't pay too much. Ashley, 2.5 is probably below 180, 170. Yeah, why not? Maybe put it on your ACCA. Why not?
Yes, good. We're moving on to Saturday, Salernitana, Empoli. These both teams are newcomers to Serie A. Actually, they were promoted from Serie B, where they were significantly better. Salernitana looks really, really struggling this year in the top flight football of Italia. Having won just one in 8 rounds, maybe they're going back to Serie B. Who knows? But Empoli are a little bit better. However, they lost their good momentum of 2 consecutive wins with 2 defeats in a row to Roma and Atalanta. Fair play to them, difficult games.
Always.
Offensively, they look much better. They have 9 points in the table, and why not having a draw here? Because between them, I think there was not a draw previously.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Last time he finished 2-0 for Salernitana when they were playing Serie B last season, but Empoli beat Salernitana 5-0 in the same season. 2 years ago, he finished 4-2 for Empoli in Salerno. So, there are quite a lot of goals between these two teams. The big news is that Salernitana this week has sacked the manager, Fabrizio Castori. He's been sacked. The management wanted a little bit more effort into Salernitana. They think the results were not coming. Actually, maybe it's a little bit unfair for the man who took them up to Serie A to get the sack so early as well. And now they went with Stefano Colantuono, who was, by the way, the manager in 2018, and is the last time he managed. So Colantuono hasn't managed in the last 3 years, and he was a Salernitana back then, and he hasn't managed in Serie A since 2016, since he managed Udinese. So it's quite a risk. He's very experienced. He managed Atalanta a few years in Serie A, etc., but he's not been in the top flight for a while. Let's see what he does. I think he's going to stick with a 3-5-2 that he also likes to play, so it's not going to change much at the beginning, but see if he can revitalize the team, which, by the way, I don't think Salernitana were doing that bad so far. They also been very unlucky in a few games. They hit the post and the bar a few times. For example, when they lost against Atalanta, they didn't deserve to lose. Anyway, they already collected 4 points at home. They had some tough games. They played Roma and they lost. Let's see how they set up. I think at the beginning they will still set up slightly defensive. Empoli is a little bit of a gambler's nightmare because they are much better away than at home. Away they only conceded 2 goals, like Napoli. At home they lost all the games but one, if I'm not wrong. They lost against Atalanta 4-1, but they had chances. So probably the scoreline was not a true reflection of how the game went. Andrea Azzoli, the manager, was happy actually after the defeat because they had a few shots saved on the line. They scored an own goal. They attacked for most of the second half. Also, this is a team that needs to be praised because they try to play on the front foot, and this is the second youngest squad in Serie A. So again, you need to allow them sometimes to make some mistakes, to adapt. They're going to miss an important player, Ricci, in midfield, but I trust Empoli to be better in this one than Salernitana, but I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to go for a draw, no bet, which means basically if the game ends in a draw, you haven't lost a stake. If Empoli wins, you win 1.95.
Yeah, this is basically the same as Asian Handicap Zero, just a little bit different market, and sometimes you can find a little bit better value compared, depending on the bookmaker.
Yes.
Interesting about Empoli is they don't have a draw yet in Serie A, so maybe a clean win or the first draw of the season. We'll see what happens. Okay, moving on to Sassuolo Venezia. Another interesting game here. Because both teams are below the mid-table and they have exactly the same, I think, points right now, and they're 14th and 15th in the table with 8 points. For me personally, the odds for Sassuolo are very low comparing to what they are what the picture says, but maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
No, I think the fact is that Sassuolo have been disappointing so far, whereas Venezia have been brilliant. So if Sassuolo last year at this stage of the season, Sassuolo was second in the table. They got 10 less points last season. So probably that's why the bookies thinks they should be so favorite, whereas Venezia are newly promoted. The problem with Sassuolo this season, by the way, they changed the manager from De Zerbi to Dionisi, is that they are not putting games away. Like against Genoa, when they got chances, they squandered them. They were 2-0 up, 2-1 up then, and they missed a few chances with Raspadori, a few chances with Scamacca. For a team that is never been strong in defense, even with under the Zerbi, missing chances is a killer because the opposition at some point they're gonna score. Also against Inter at home, they were good before the international break, missed a few chances, were unlucky. Inter came out on top and won the game. It is a team that doesn't keep many clean sheets. Sassuolo only kept 2 clean sheets so far, but in the game at Genoa, we saw some interesting things. For example, the partnership Raspadori-Scamacca for the first time. So that was good. That was working. Dionisi didn't put Boga and put Raspadori and Scamacca. Scamacca, the physical player, he scored 2 goals. Tolijan, on the right back, pushing very high, as he used to do with the Zerbi, providing the assist, also really good. But Venezia, the story of the season so far, such a young and fit team and courageous, playing on 4-3-3, always trying to break quickly, and with good passers of the ball in midfield. You got Ampadu holding midfielder. You got Haps, who is former Feyenoord, plays in a left back. Busio, the American. This is interesting, and also up front, someone really exciting as Ronny Jonsen, the Norwegian, might not be there for an ankle injury. Henry, Aramu, an exciting bunch, I would say. And I think Zanetti, the manager, Paolo Zanetti, is now finding the right formation after changing a lot in the first couple of weeks. Look, I'm expecting goals in this one. Both to score, it's too low as an odd. So why don't you go with an over 1.5 goals in the second half, when the games might open up a little bit, and that pays 183.
Always can count on you having variety of bets, mixing goals on first half, second half. That's really, really great thing I admire about you. We have a visitor from Ghana. Hello, Ghana. What's the time
Hello.
there right now? And aloha from Hawaii.
Afternoon. I think it's afternoon, but I'm not sure. Huh?
Interesting.
He'll tell us in a minute. I think it's the afternoon.
Yes, international audience, and we are both international as well.
Yeah, of course.
Moving on to Bologna and AC Milan, we finally have some better teams here to comment on. Milan, who produced a lot of goals between them in their last 8 head-to-head games. Actually, the fans are definitely pleased that their good run this season is in the Serie A, having won 7 and drawn just 1, and still going unbeaten in Serie A. However, in the Champions League, exactly the opposite. 3 defeats, with most recently losing to Porto last night with 1-0. I'm sure Pioli's men will need to win to boost their morale and keep the pace with Napoli, because they're still 2 points away from the top. However, Bologna are a tough host with 3 wins and a single draw. They haven't lost a match at home, and they defeated Lazio last time. So is it safe to expect a tough game for Milan?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very competitive game. Milan coming back from the Champions League is never easy. Then to play an away game, and against Porto, Milan went back to earth. I think they realized that when you go to Europe, the quality is very high. Milan hasn't been playing in the Champions League for a few years, so yes, they perhaps deserve more against Atletico. They did okay against Liverpool for a bit, but yeah, against Porto it was disappointing. They only had 2 shots, 1 on target, and you can tell that they've been on the back foot in the Champions League, because so far in 3 games they faced 65 shots against. Only one team has faced more shots, and that's Sheriff Tiraspol, who faced 80 shots. So Milan have been, we can tell you, they've been pretty dominated by at least 2 out of 3 games. The problem with Milan is that they got a lot of injuries at the moment. Theo Hernandez and Ibrahim Diaz, they got COVID. We don't know whether they're going to be negative by Sunday. Rebic might be out. Florenzi's out. Messias hasn't played. So, the squad out of a sudden is not that deep, although they strengthen it in the summer. I think what could happen is that maybe if they go out of the Champions League, this could be a blessing in disguise, because then they concentrate on the league and be really competitive and do perhaps what Inter did last season. They went out of the Champions League very badly, and then they had only the league to concentrate, and they won the league in a spectacular fashion. But anyway, they're doing better than last year already in the league, 2 more points than last year. And, just to tell you, to give you an idea of how well Milan is been doing, or maybe how poor they've been doing in the previous season, at the moment they got 22 points. This is a record since 94-95. So we'll have to go back 22 years, forget Milan, at this serious season with 22 points. So you have to be respected, especially their away forms. Last year, they were the best away teams. They were able to wait and counterattack. They picked up so many points. And this season already, they won at Bergamo against Atalanta, drew against Juventus 1-1. They should have won. So don't just write Milan off. However, Bologna at home, they've been good. And I think since Mihajlovic reverted back to playing 3-5-2 with 3 at the back and the 2 wing backs, the defense is looking more solid. They're conceding less goals. Maybe they should have won at Udine. They were playing against a man, so they must have a few regrets. And I think the fact that they got Arnautovic up front and Barro and Soriano behind him, it's working, especially in that 3-5-2 system. They can concentrate more on attacking. Musa Barrow, by the way, the only player who scored 3 goals and provided 3 assists so far in Serie A. So he's really doing well. Look, I think we can expect goals. Very difficult to call the outright market. Let's go for a cautious one, because if you go for over 3 goals, which pays, by the way, 209, if the game finishes 2-1, 3-0, 0-3, you have not lost your stakes. But obviously, if there is a 4th goal, you want 209. So just try to cover your back a little bit.
Definitely a tough game to predict the final outcome. I believe AC Milan will be looking to retaliate after yet another unpleasant defeat in Champions League, but only time will tell. And then on Sunday, we have the early kickoff, Atalanta taking on Udinese. The odds for a home win are really low here. And for me personally, there's no value at this point because Atalanta is 6th with 14 points, while Udinese struggles with 3 consecutive draws and 3 consecutive defeats prior to that. But still, I'm not sure the final outcome here it deserves. I mean, it's not really easy to bet on for me for Atalanta, but maybe the goals market seems a little better.
It could be, however, Udinese, they are not renowned for scoring many goals. They found it very difficult to score a goal last season. This season, okay, they scored 4 in the last 2, but they don't have a great striker or scorer of great goals. Okay, having said that, the Portuguese Beto has scored 2 goals already, back to back. And, last year he scored 11 in Portugal for Portimonense. So maybe he's another great coup from Udinese, always scouts around the world, and this is the next big thing. But he needs to be consistent. Either way, I think Udinese is always a team that has got a great fighting spirit. They fight till the end. That's really what their supporters want. That's always been the blueprint of this team. Is not a team that is hard to beat, that surrender easily, and I think they will do the same in Bergamo. Okay, I think it's a team that overall is weaker than last year because they got rid of Deulofeu, they sold him, they got rid of the goalkeeper Musso. Again, they haven't found a great goal scorer apart from perhaps Beto. So I think Gotti has to work with material that is not quite there. Also because a few of the signings that they did in the summer, for example, Isaac Success is still injured. We'll see, because for this one they will be without probably the best player, who's Pereira, suspended. Is he gonna play? I'm really curious if Gotti will play the 19-year-old Samardzic, who they bought from Leipzig. They say a lot good things about him. He already scored 1 goal in Serie A, but he never started. Is it going to be the time? We'll see him. Anyway, it seems that Deulofeu is again inspired for Udinese. Hit the post against Bologna. Again, they came back into a game. Was not easy because they were with 10 men. And Atalanta, we saw them yesterday at Old Trafford. Really good 45 minutes. Then a little bit unlucky because they missed Demiral because of injury. Man United came back. I think Atalanta show a little bit of lack of character or lack of experience on the international stage. Yes, they played 3 or 4 seasons in Europe, but they're not quite there with the top teams who can close games down. But nonetheless, I think they're playing the right way. They are proposing football. They are keeping possession. They are attacking. So yes, it is disappointing to lose from 2-0 to 2-0 up to 3-2, but they can take a lot of positive. The problem with Atalanta at the moment, they got a lot of absentees, apart from Demiral, Toloi, Hatebeur, Gosens, Pessina, Jim City. So again, the team looks a little bit thin at the moment. Yeah, I think Atalanta might scrape it through, might win it. But I think last year they lose a few games after the Champions League. It's never easy for them to do Wednesday, Sunday. I'm going to go for a double chance in the first half, which, look at the odds. Look how good it is. X2 in the first half, 190.
Yes, they will definitely be tired from this high-level game last night. And you could see in the last 10-15 minutes, Man United were putting a lot of pressure and they just couldn't cope. So I expect them to be a little bit tired, and draw on the half time, it's very reasonable. Also, I was looking myself for the goals market because head-to-head, last season they had 3-2, 1-1, 2-3. A lot of goals.
You could go for the over 2.5. Could be an idea, but again, check the lineup, check who plays for Atalanta, because sometimes they're stuttering a little bit initially, but let's see.
Relying only on history is not enough.
You never know. Yeah.
Then we have Fiorentina and Cagliari. Another interesting game to predict because the hosts are currently 9th with 12 points. I think they're in desperate need of a win because they lost consecutively to Napoli and Venezia. Cagliari is currently the second worst team in the league with 6 points. They're sitting also as the second worst team on the away games. So a win for Fiorentina is what the bookies expect and probably what most people expect.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I'm not really sure. For some reason, I prefer the under 2.5 goals market. And, because the last 3 head-to-head games, there were only 1 goal scored in total.
Yeah, but I think in the last 3 years, Fiorentina were way poorer than this year. Yes, okay, the results, perhaps Fiorentina have been disappointing in the last couple of weeks, but you can tell what they're trying to do and what the new manager, Vincenzo Italiano, is trying to do. It's a different way they play football, 4-3-3, more attacking, more possession-based. They press really high, even with the wing-backs and the centre-backs, sometimes they press high. The thing is that sometimes they said Fiorentina starts the games too quickly, especially against the top teams like against Inter and Napoli. They are very aggressive in the first 30 minutes, then they run out of petrol and they end up conceding. Against Venezia was a little bit different. I think they were flat at the beginning. They were caught in behind too many times. They conceded and then they were a little bit confused. But again, maybe we have to excuse them because after the international break, they played a team that perhaps was a little bit fresher and had some issues. The problem is Italiano, the manager, has got an idea, but he's changing the formation a lot. 8 games, 8 different formations, especially at the center backs. He plays Milenkovic, but then he changes always Igor, Martinez Quarta, Nastasic. I mean, who's playing? Who's the regular starter? Also because Fiorentina is not playing in the cups, so I don't understand why he's changing so much. Maybe he wants to get all the players used to the system. And then also there is a big issue. Dusan Vlahovic. We know he's not going to renew his contract with Fiorentina. We know in the summer he could have gone to Spurs or to Inter for 60 million. They didn't want to sell him. He's going to leave on a free. Now, what sort of reception is he gonna get from his own fans? They're gonna basically live with him, knowing he's gonna leave. Who knows? Maybe he might even leave in January. So this is gonna be a burden for Fiorentina. Let's see how they react. However, they've shown some improvements so far this season. Cagliari, on the other hand, on Sunday against Sampdoria, they've shown finally the quality they have, because everyone's saying Cagliari has got so many quality players. They should do better. They need to put more fighting spirit into it, and actually they did. With Keita Balde, with Nandez, with João Pedro. So the elements are all there. They're not doing really well so far this season, -4 points compared to last year. So they still have a way to go, and they are the third worst defense with 17 goals conceded. They depend a lot in this moment from João Pedro, from the star player. He scored 56% of the total team goals. No one in Serie A has a better percentage of goals scored for his team. So basically, they are almost a one-man team there up front. Odds I think Fiorentina is going to win it. Odds are low, so I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to give you something a little bit more creative. Asian handicap corners. I know Alvaro, my friend, loves that. Asian handicap corners, -2, which pays 2.18. Let me explain it, because I never used that one. So basically, if Fiorentina takes 5 corners and Cagliari takes 2 corners, you're winning, because there is a -2 on the Asian handicap. If Fiorentina takes 2 corners and Cagliari takes 0 corners, you have not lost your stake. Is that right, Daniel?
Exactly correct. And actually, betting on corners is one of my favorite things. And last night I lost because Bayern couldn't make enough corners.
Okay.
And someone in the channel is saying, "Thank you for your ACCA." Unfortunately, I played my own ACCA and I played myself.
Okay.
If I was playing your ACCA, I would be happy man tonight. But what to do?
But sometimes you have to follow your own instincts. I mean, here it's not that we have got the crystal ball here.
Exactly.
I mean, we're not magicians. Otherwise, we'll be millionaire. We just try to analyze with a little bit of fun the games and give you some tips. But be sure that you follow us all the season. I'm sure you'll be winning.
Definitely 100%. And up next is coming Verona Lazio. Verona is in really good shape at home, defeating Roma and Spezia. They also scored plenty of goals this season, 17, but they're quite leaky on the back against 17 goals.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Lazio is definitely boosted after beating Inter with 3-1 in the last domestic game. The Eagles are playing in Europa League as we speak. Tough match against Marseille, and I think it ended 0-0.
It did.
And they should be tired after this one, and also not convincing on the road at Serie A so far. So maybe, I don't know what to expect here.
This is going to be a tough one. I mean, the 0-0 with Marseille, by the way, I watched it a bit, is not a true reflection of how the game went, because Lazio had a few chances. Paul Lopez, the Marseille goalkeeper, was good. So Lazio could score a couple. They didn't. And it's interesting because Sarri played a lot of his first team players. He played Immobile. He played Felipe Anderson. Of course, he played Acerbi and Luis Felipe, who are going to be suspended for this one. So Lazio have got a problem at the back. But, credit to Lazio, because so far this season they've been winning the big games. They've been winning against Inter. They've been winning away Roma. They don't give up easily. It's a team that is not yet Sarri's team, possession-based, quick interchanges, quick passes, kind of playing by memory, but is a team that is really hard to beat, and if you give them a chance to go back into the game, they might punish you. I like Lazio the weekend because after equalizing against Inter, Sarri made some attacking changes. He brought in Lazzari, a right back who's very attacking, and Luis Alberto, who was left out of the initial squad, and they took on the game to Inter. I think that at the end they were worthy winner. Okay, sometimes Luis Alberto, very creative, and Milinkovic-Savic seems to be a little bit outside Sarri's tactics, but they are the only one who can really disorganize teams, unlock teams. So let's see if he starts again with Luis Alberto or not, if he puts him on the bench. He really need it. Anyway, they are scoring goals. They scored 5 more goals than last season. They need to basically be consistent. And they're going to play a Verona team that looked really good in Milan against Milan for 50 minutes. They were 2-0 up. And I like the fact that since Tudor came on, They are playing with two strikers and Barak behind him, and they look a better team. They're very direct. They're physical, so they can pose you problems. Lazio to struggle here a little bit, possibly. Verona to take the lead, 220.
Very interesting analysis. I wouldn't expect. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit surprised, but maybe you will be correct based on everything you said. Then we have the first most expected game, I would say, of match day 9, Roma and Napoli. Excuse me. It's interesting because we have the best home team and the best away team going toe to toe. The odds are for the outright market are very close to each other, and after losing to Juve in the last round, I'm sure Mourinho we want to make Spalletti's life miserable on Sunday. Meanwhile, what to say about Napoli? They're just flawless, flying through the league, 8 wins in a row, score goals, and are rock solid at the back. They are playing Liga at home as we speak, at the Europa League. While Roma took a massive beating by Bodo Glimt with 6-1. I'm not even sure what happened. Did they play with reserves?
They did, but still it's inexplicable. 6-1 defeat in the Conference League to Norwegian Bode Glimt. Yes, you have to look it to really believe it. Yes, Mourinho played the second team in the first half, and they were losing 2-1. Then he put Shomudorov, El Shaarawy, etc., and then they conceded at a 4. Basically, every time Bodo Glimt was kicking the ball upfield, they were scoring. Embarrassing. And it came so early. I think that tells you that perhaps Mourinho is not gonna stick with the reserves anymore. The first team is gonna play until they got zero energy, and this is gonna be a massive shock for Roma, which I'm sure they'll probably progress in the Conference League, but in the week of playing Napoli, they really should have done better. Okay, let's see how they react. For what I've seen so far in the league, they're playing the right way. So they are they're trying to dominate the game, which they did for some parts against Juventus. They're creating chances. They're on the front foot. Sometimes they're direct. They got good players that can play the ball, and I think the chances for them to score are always going to come. They need to be more clinical, of course. So far they won all the 4 games at home, so they got a good record. And the thing that what has changed so far this season is that last season with Fonseca, they were never turning up for big games. They didn't have the big games mentality, and they were losing most of the times against the big teams. In fact, they lost twice against Napoli. This year, okay, they lost against Lazio and they lost against Juventus, but they were unlucky in both situations. They got more of a fighting mentality thanks to Mourinho. What they are missing, they're missing to be clinical, and they're missing Zaniolo, who last year was injured, and this year is not quite there, to be the spark, to ignite them and to unbalance other teams. He might be injured for this one, so check the lineups. He definitely didn't play today, but I think Roma knew that they play better than Juventus, so they're gonna be confident. See what happens now after this big defeat. And they play a Napoli side that not only they won every single game in Italy, but also they looked so well drilled, they looked so well coached and so determined. Everyone seems to know what they're doing. Players know their place. Spalletti is really changing the mentality of the team. Now Spalletti returns to Rome. He's been there. I'm sure he wants to get a win, also because of the way he left in the last season. Playing against Legia Varsavia for the first time tonight, Osimhen is not starting, which I think is a good idea to give him a rest. But otherwise, Spalletti hasn't made a lot of changes. It's a must-win game. Let's see what happened. In my previous video, I said both to score. Let's see if it actually happens. Anyway, the last 7 games between Roma and Napoli, 5 have ended with over 2.5 goals, and 3 with over 3.5 goals. So you could go with the goal market, with an over 2.5 goals, over 3. These are all good odds. But for this one, I think, look, I'm not sure if Napoli are still going to be on a perfect record comes Monday. I don't think they're going to lose this one. So I'm going to go for a nation handicap 0, which the odds are very good, 188. They might change after Roma defeat tonight, but last time I looked, I think they were good. So Napoli is 0. If they draw, you don't lose your stake.
Yeah. Yeah, I also expect everything but a lose from Napoli because for me, Mourinho getting sacked is always a good bet.
No,
We saw
he's
that
not.
in the
He's,
previous
he's not gonna
years.
get. He's not gonna get sacked. He's not gonna get sacked.
We'll see. We'll see at the end
He'll
of the
stay.
season. And finally, the cherry of Sunday's Serie A cake is most definitely Inter and Juve. In the last round, Inter slipped against Lazio and lost 3-1, and are in the front of yet another tough test here at San Siro. They won comfortably against Sheriff in the UCL 2 nights ago, and got another win at home against their big rivals. Well, actually, if they get this win, will be priceless for the fans of
Absolutely.
Nerazzurri. Meanwhile, Juve finally found their pace in Serie A, winning game after game, most recently against Roma. And in the Champions League, they lost. They also defeated a tough opponent last night, Zenit, 1-0. And I think this is going to be a massive game for both teams.
Oh yeah, this is the game, one of the game of the seasons. Of course, it's the Derby d'Italia. It's such
Yeah.
a massive rivalry, and yes, I mean, between it's got obviously we know Napoli has won all the games, but before the start of the season, everyone said it's either Inter or Juventus this season. Now, look, they both come from 2 wins in the Champions League, different wins. Juventus so far is a team that is a 1-0 team. Is a team that they know they're not playing really well. They know they still have got problems in retaining the ball, in creating a lot of plays, but they're playing simple. After a very difficult start, Allegri has steadied the ship, reverted back to a 4-4-2, put Chiesa as a second striker, and now they got the quality to deliver ball into the boxes. They score from crosses, from headers. So it's a very simple way of scoring, but is effective, and they're keeping it tight at the back. So it's a hard-working midfield that doesn't allow the opposition too many chances. Although with Roma they did, and they can always find a way to score. So I think obviously they got a much stronger belief at the moment. I think it will come the time when Juventus will play well, but for now, that's enough for them. Now, obviously, let's see against Inter, who's a quality team, plays at home. At home has got a great record. Last year, beat Juventus 2-0 at home, best game of the season. Let's see what happens, because if Juventus leaves the ball too much to Inter and the quality strikers that they have, they could be in troubles. So let's see, because also Inter is finding their balance as well. Is a team that sometimes commits perhaps too many players forward and they gets counter. Also against Sheriff Tiraspol, they had a few risky situations. Definitely against Lazio, they need to understand when is the right time sometimes to sit a little bit, not commit too many players. But okay, they are attacking more. It's a team that with Inzaghi has changed the way they play. He's not just playing on the counter most of the time as they did with Conte. And of course, because they change your personnel, Lukaku, Dzeko is not Lukaku, is a different kind of player. Obviously, they haven't got Hakimi on the right hand side, so again, is a different proposition. But Inter has been playing well, but not well consistently. I don't think we're gonna see the same game as last year when Juventus came quite unprepared to play Inter in Milan with a few young players, with a system that they don't really knew. I think it's going to be a tight one. So under is always a good marker for this one, but go on the second half under 1.5 goals in the second half, 190. So basically what you're saying, 1 goal or no goals in the second half, almost doubles your stake. But again, if you want to put a double chance in any of those two, again, is a good bet, something for your ACCA. This is going to be, well, definitely a game to watch. What can I say?
Yes, it will certainly be a different Derby d'Italia without Lukaku and Cristiano in both teams. But I'm sure the energy will be there as always. So the best time of the show, ACCA. Danny's ACCA. What can we do tonight?
Okay, let's see if the magic again after midweek. So 5 games, and I chose not the worst odds, but the things that are slightly more likely than what I told you so far. Okay, let's start. Torino to win on Friday. Sassuolo win. Bologna and Milan both to score. Atalanta Asian handicap -1 against Udinese, and Verona Lazio both to score, and the total odds that you can see on the graphic is 12.51.
Perfect. I think we analyzed everything about Serie A Matchday 9. And if you enjoyed the show, guys, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to never miss your show. Tomorrow we are back with La Liga and Premier League live streams. So stay with us. And remember, stay on the right side of the money.
Always. See you later.
Danny.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.